now. Okay, we are back on the pod, joined by Matt from SpursFanBlog.com. Matt, last thing we're going to talk about before I let you go, free agents. Let's start off with the easy one, Marco Belineli. What do we do?
Yeah, bye, Marco. Let him go.
Bye, Marco. Thanks for everything. We love you.
Yep, thanks for helping us win a championship in 2014. You know, God love your crazy off shooting threes, but we're moving on, man.
Yeah, you kind of filled that Manu void for a season. You know, that crazy shot and it goes in, stuff that we love seeing in San Antonio. But yeah, I think we're ready to part ways with Marco. Okay, so then that's easy. Marco, we let him sign somewhere else. Next one up, not so easy. Bryn Forbes.
Yeah, it's all about how you manage Bryn Forbes, in my opinion. I think with his shooting ability, I mean, he's been shooting the lights out recently, and you know, on a team that doesn't have a ton of consistent shooting, I think that he could be a real asset. But you have to manage his minutes better. You can't be giving him 30 minutes a night, and you just can't have a defensive liability like that out there for 30 minutes. I mean, you're just going to get killed. So I wouldn't mind. I'd prefer, you know, keeping him on the team at least for the short term until we can, you know, add some other shooters either through the draft or free agency. But, you know, Pop and the coaching staff, they're going to have to manage his minutes better next season. You know, I don't think I think he could get, you know, some offers from, you know, some lower level teams, maybe like the Knicks or some Eastern Conference teams, even would value his shooting. But I think he likes in San Antonio. I think he loves the team and the city, so I think he wants to be here. You know, that might not be to the delight of a lot of Spurs fans, but I think we take his shooting for granted sometimes, and I think he could still be an asset, but he needs to be more of a 15-20 minute type of guy.
Okay, so if you're the Spurs, you want to keep Bryn Forbes long term, right?
I want to keep him I'd say more short term until we're certain we can get more shooters either via the draft or free agency, because right now we just don't have that many shooters.
So would you offer him like a 2 or 3 year deal?
I would offer him a 2 to 3 year deal. I mean, how much? I'm not really an expert in, you know, how much we can give him or how much we should. I'd give him a cheaper deal, obviously. You know, if he's demanding, you know, a huge deal, then let him walk. But if you can, I would reach a short-term agreement with Bryn.
So he gets 25 minutes a game. That just needs to go down. I agree with you with that. You know, DeJounte took. You can look at DeJounte's deal like a team-friendly deal. I mean, he's not getting overpaid at all, I don't think. So maybe Bryn Forbes follows in that. If you're Bryn Forbes, do you take the money or do you stay in San Antonio? Because you're 26. I mean, look at Bryn Forbes. He's not 21, 22. He's 26 years old. And he just had a season of getting 25 minutes a game and kind of underperformed. So if you're Bryn Forbes and you're looking at your career, if the Knicks offer you, you know, a 3 or 4 year, $50 million deal, do you take it?
Oh, if you're Bryn Forbes, I mean, I'd absolutely take that because you're not going to get a better deal here.
And then he's out of the league in 2 years, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're going to the Knicks, your career is dead. I mean, it's going to die.
Okay,
sooner or later.
So let's move on. Let's go to Jokab Poeltl. Jokab had his first year with the Spurs. Kind of, it was more of like a feeling out, I think, for all of us. Like, who is this guy? What can he do? What is he going to do for us? What is he going to bring to the table? And then he showed progression from last year to this year. He showed that he improved, which is a big sign for me. And to me, he's a young player. He's got a lot of potential, and he's still moving forward. So when it comes to his contract coming across your desk, if you're the GM, what are you going to do with Jokab?
Yeah, he's a guy I would actually kind of look at for more long term. I don't know how many people know this, but he was a top 5 player in rim protection in terms of opponents' field goal percentage at the rim. I think it was Giannis, Brook Lopez, Robin Lopez. I think he was actually 4th. I think he was after the 3 Bucks players. So he's a really good defensive player. And, you know, and Spurs fans need to keep this in mind when it comes to free agency. I mean, LaMarcus Aldridge was our biggest free agency signing in the franchise history. You know, we're not a free agency hotspot. So, you know, when people complain about, you know, giving Patty too much money and Saul too much money and stuff like that, it's not that I'm disagreeing. Like, obviously, you know, considering what we're paying those guys to what their their on court product is. I mean, yeah, you could make the argument we're overpaying them, but we're not going to sign any other big name free agents outside of the the mid-level exception, whatever that, I forget what that's called. So, when you can get guys like that, you don't really have a choice. And so back to Jokab Poeltl, though, I think he could be a real asset to the team. I think his rim protection, his defense, I think he's learned the system pretty well. He's another guy, I want to see more minutes. There's some games, and that's the only downside of having LaMarcus if you keep him is, he would definitely probably take a lot of reps and minutes away from Jokab, and we've seen in short spurts, what he's capable of. So I'm all for keeping Jokab. I would look for him long term. I would definitely give him a little more money than Bryn. I don't think he's a max guy or anything, but if I remember right, I think he said he loved in San Antonio. He'd love to come to a deal. Obviously, he wasn't naive enough to suggest that he's going to, be here forever. But I think that they will. I think they'll ultimately come to an agreement.
Yeah, I agree. I want to keep him long term. Rim protection is huge. He's a little bit more than just a will player. He has some skill. He has the ability to finish around the rim, pass the ball, just be a smart player. And, San Antonio loves bigs who have some type of IQ over just being able to dunk the ball. Okay, so those are our big names, right? Those are the ones that are going to come first priority when it comes to this offseason moving forward to next year. But there are two guys that were on two-way deals, which means that they come up to the NBA from the G League and vice versa, up and down. One of them is Drew Eubanks, who is finishing up his 2-year, two-way deal. And, we're talking about Jokab and LaMarcus. We talked about Chimezie a little bit. Is Drew a guy that you can see being around the Spurs organization and maybe not getting a lot of playing time in the future, but still there? It's like he loves it there. We keep him there. I think there's minutes for him. Obviously, he started 3 or 4 games there at the end of the year, showed us that he can play at this level, but he still has a lot of room to grow on the defensive side of the ball, communication wise, things like that. But he shows us that he's not scared to play at this level. Is he someone that you bring back to the Spurs next year, or is he still going up and down from the G League?
Yeah, I think for Drew, it's all about how the franchise sees him and how the front office sees him. If they kind of see him as a long-term guy, they want to be a part of the team. That's really on the front office. I don't know how they see him. I mean, obviously, they gave him the nod over Chimezie at the end of the season, so I imagine that they do like him. I agree. I think, if you're going to keep him around, I think there's more minutes for him. But I don't see the point in keeping him around if you're not going to give him those minutes. Otherwise he's just basically filling up a spot at the end of the bench. I do agree. I think he loves in San Antonio. I think he kind of embodies the Spurs culture. He's a great hype guy in the bench. He gets along so well with the other G League teammates. So I definitely don't mind having him on the team. I hope they have a plan for him. I hope if they're going to keep him long term that they're going to use him as a kind of a long term guy and start to give him more minutes. And like you said, we saw him at the end of the year, but that was also because of injuries. So if we come back next year fully healthy, I mean, is he just going to be stuck at the end of the bench playing on another two-way deal in Austin, or is he actually going to be granted more trust and more responsibilities and more minutes with the Spurs?
Yeah, I agree. It's almost impossible to figure out what the future for Drew and Chimezie looks like here in San Antonio. But there was, real quick, side note, I'm doing a video right now on the Spurs versus the Brooklyn Nets when Keldon Johnson, Derek White, and Lonnie Walker were on the floor together. We didn't get to see those 3 guys play a lot of minutes together. So I'm making a video about it against the Nets. But it was funny because when I was making that video, Drew Eubanks was on the floor with them, and Patty Mills was the other guy, right? Those 2 guys are on the floor. And I'm thinking, man, Drew, Keldon Johnson, Lonnie Walker, those 3 guys have been playing together for a long time. Drew played a lot with Lonnie last year, and in the summer league, and then Drew has played a lot this season with Keldon in Austin. So it was just kind of interesting to see those guys on the floor together. And obviously Derek White has been up and down from Austin too. But to see all those guys on the floor together, I'm like, damn, man, this is half of our Austin squad this year. It's just like, you know what? There's something to say about continuity, and I think Drew Eubanks and Chimezie can have that continuity whenever their opportunity comes to play with these young guys. And the last guy that we're going to talk about really quick before we go, Quindarry Whitherspoon. He's our second round draft pick from last season, 4-year player out of Mississippi State. To be honest, I think has been the best player that we've had consistently in Austin. He can do it all. He can finish at the rim. He moves well without the ball. He actually defends at a crazy high level, I think, off ball. His on-ball defense is somewhat suspect sometimes, but when the way he communicates and switches and helps the helper and does things like that, to me, it's just like, yeah, this is a 4-year college player who's probably ready to see some type of minutes in the NBA. So is he? I mean, he's a point guard, though. I mean, talk about point guards on this roster. Not Lonnie Walker, DeJounte, Derek White, Patty Mills. And I think that's where Quindarry falls on that, hierarchy ladder. So is he someone that you think we can have plans for in the future? Or is he someone that just stays in the G League again next year and then we'll take care of it after that?
I'm a big Quindarry fan. When I did an article on the rookie trio from this year, and one of the things I mentioned is he reminds me a lot like Derek White. I mean, He's a high IQ player. He can defend on the perimeter.
I agree.
He can shoot. I mean, I'm pulling up some of his stats here from his last season at Mississippi State. He in the half court offense, so 17% of his shots were set jumpers. And on those 17% shots, he converted those set jump shots for 1.636 points per catch, which was in the 99th percentile.
Yeah.
So he's someone, and I watched some film on him in Austin, and he's just the guy I look at that he can score in every way. He can shoot the 3 ball. He can drive to the rim. He can hit the mid-range. He can distribute. He can defend. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be a Manu Ginobili all-star legend, but I think he's a guy that can really blossom into something special. I won't say disappointed because he was a second-round pick, but I was, hoping to see more of Quindarry, especially towards the end of the year when he started getting hurt. I think he's a guy that, should step up next year. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying I think he is, because it's the way the Spurs run their team. But I think if they give him a shot, I mean, he has a 6'9" wingspan. He's 6'4", and he has a 6'9" wingspan. I mean, he, like you said, he's a good defender. I think, between him, Lonnie, Keldon, DeJounte, Derek, we have so much defensive versatility in this guy. All those 5 guys can switch at any given moment to any player on the perimeter. And I think you see a lot of those teams that's a kind of a trend in the NBA is teams want guys that can, switch on the perimeter, because it's just way easier to switch than a guard to pick and roll, the old-fashioned way, because it's just easier when you can just stay in front versus, trying to find ways to guard a pick and roll with the big, versus icing or hedging or hard hedging or whatever the case may be. So I'm a big Quindarry fan. I hope, they see him in their long-term plans. But again, I don't know what the front office is thinking about him. So I sincerely hope they are looking at him as a long-term deal with the Spurs.
Yeah, I hope that he ends up being the eventual replacement to Patty Mills. And I mean, his role, Patty Mills' role is funny, has never changed. You know what I mean? It's like he's been in the same role for, 8 years, being that primary backup scoring point guard for when you come off the bench. Your job is to score, then facilitate, right? And I think Quindarry Whitherspoon, when Patty eventually rides off into the sunset, can have that role for us for a long time. And that's just, hey, your role is always going to be to come off the bench, back up DeJounte or Derek or however those minutes go. And just, you're that next guy, and your minutes are going to come. And when they do come, we expect you to, do what he does. I love Quindarry. I agree. He's ultimate pro. I feel like he's professional. He's probably the most professional rookie that we've had in a little while. He does remind me a lot of Derek White, from Derek White's final year in Austin. If you look at Derek White's final year in Austin, it's going to blow your mind because you're going to see Derek White hitting all these threes. He's going to look like Steph Curry if you go look at Derek White in Austin 2 seasons ago. But Quindarry can be that guy, and I agree. There's so much depth. There's so much defensive potential with a lot of these young guys. These young guys just need to grow up. These young guys need to grow up fast. They need to get it done, because if they don't, same thing is going to happen. Their minutes are going to go to the veteran who knows what the little things are, and they do them consistently. You know, so if those young guys are ever going to get that type of run, which they are, you know, it's either going to be next season or the year after. I think that's the window that most of us are waiting on. Okay, are we going to get a lot of youth? Most of us thought it was coming this year. We were wrong. I think next year is the year, hopefully. But if it's not, I mean, we that's the biggest mystery of all, because we have so much youth, so much potential. And the thing is, these guys are getting developed. Coach Pop is very hard on all these kids. Like, I mean, we've seen him get over Lonnie and KJ this season. Like, he's ripping them. He's calling a timeout just to rip them in their face. You know what I mean? So they're getting coached up, which is great. Now they just need to grow up so they can get their opportunities, because it's not just going to be given to them like Lonnie Walker. Yeah. But they know that. I think they all know that, and they just need to keep working hard at it. All right, Matt, so thank you for joining us. It was a little bit longer than we would have liked to hope. I hope we didn't keep you here too long. But, Matt, before you go, let our listeners know where they can find you and everything that you got going on.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I mean, I got nothing else going on right now at the moment. I don't think anybody does. But, so if for all the Spurs fans listening here, check out our site at spursfanblog.com. I team up actually with Spurs Elite from Instagram. I also run the Ginobili Elite, so that's where we're doing giveaways. I'll be live streaming later. But yeah, just hit up our website if you like what we see. Join, subscribe. We doing giveaways, but you have to be a member to be eligible. So if you like what our content is and want to sign up, please do. Other than that, hit us up on Instagram, Spurs Fan Blog, Spurs Elite, and just hopefully we can talk as much Spurs as we can. Keep our mind off the coronavirus going around, and just hold on and till the next season.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you for joining us. It was a lot of fun, man. We got to do a bunch more of these. Everyone that's listening, make sure to go to spursfanblog.com to check out all the articles that are dropping on the reg. Matt, go Spurs go. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Go Spurs go, man. Thanks again.
All right, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, you can get all of our content at buckingspurs.com.